All right, what's up, everybody? Man, tough day yesterday for me with the Pirates. Keller was just bad. Sometimes you're just wrong, and no other way to spin it. I always say there's 50-50 games, and then you're either right or you're wrong. And most games are 50-50, meaning they can go one way or the other depending on a lot of different factors. And then there's always a handful of games where it's just obvious which way you were supposed to go. So Keller just pitched bad. The Pirates are spiraling. Yeah, so that sucked. Anyway, Orioles won, so that's nice. That was a nice game, clean game, so that felt fun. They play the Red Sox for 4 games this weekend. I was gonna do a whole long preview, and the Orioles just had me exhausted. So I'm like, you know what? Let's not analyze anything. Let's just see how this weekend plays out. There's not too much to analyze anymore, right? We've kind of beaten all the topics down. You want to stay positive. You want to have fun watching them. Yesterday was fun. The Kimbrel situation is interesting to watch. They let Dominguez close again yesterday. So, I mean, I'd say I'm wrong about it, but I don't know if this is the plan moving forward because Elias, he said after the deadline that Kimbrel was the closer. We shall see, but we won yesterday, so that's nice. And yeah, so let's see how the weekend plays out. Yankees are off. And if we win tonight, we're back even. And then, yeah, Yankees have their weekend series, but we are a half a game technically behind, but they're off today. So, anyway, what I want to talk about is two things. Judon gets traded. So, Matthew Judon, former Raven, then Patriot for the past couple of years, is now on the Falcons. So it gave me like a spark because I was trying to think about what division I wanted to start with. So I was like, I'm going right to the NFC South. Let's start there. As I went through it, I started playing out all the scenarios, and the more and more and more I thought about it, is there any team that before the season starts that I don't need to see anything, right? Like a lot of times you want to see if it's a new coach or a new quarterback. So with the Falcons, it feels like it's a wasted bet to bet on them in the preseason unless you just love the Falcons. Like to fade the Falcons in the preseason, meaning to bet they're under for the win total or bet somebody else to win the division, seems like not worth it because there's a chance that they're great and they could win 14 games. I think that's a better chance they can win 14 games than they win 6 games, right? Maybe they are just loaded. So I'd rather watch them. Judon makes that, I think it really gives them a chance to be elite. He's elite. The defense needs a pass rusher. They took a lot of heat for not drafting one. Now they get one, makes them look pretty smart. Falcons, I'm bullish on them, but not bullish enough to bet long term. So I'm like, maybe I'll take them for the division. But then I run into Tampa, and I'm pretty bullish on Tampa. Tampa's gonna have. I'm big on identity. Like, what is the identity of the team? The Bucks have an identity. They're going to try to run the football and establish it and play defensive. Like that's how their coach wants to go. They want to play defense. They want the game to be close at the end. They're going to elevate Baker, I think, in this offense a little bit more. Let him take a few more shots. They have Mike Evans. They have talented skill players. So I Bucks Falcons staying away from that before the season starts. I want to see how they play, see if there's improvement with the Bucks. I mean, they should have beat Detroit in that playoff game. So want to see how that looks. Falcons, new quarterback with Cousins. Panthers, I'm bullish on the Panthers. Before the season, I think there's value to bet the Panthers. I want to read and see exactly what they do with their depth chart. They have a brand new coach, Bryce Young. I think he's better. I mean, he's got to be better than he was last year. So the Panthers are one of those teams where I'm inclined to bet the Panthers, but I want to see the rest of the preseason. It's the Saints that I landed on. The Saints. And I am not bullish on the Saints, bearish on the Saints, don't like the Saints at all. Think I figured out the Saints. I was going through their team and I'm like, what's different about them than last year? Because last year they have arguably one of the 2, 3 worst coaches in football. Like Dennis Allen, maybe he's a good defensive coordinator. Like he has this job because he's a great defensive coordinator, known to beat Brady. Saints always gave Brady trouble in Tampa for those couple of years, but just his record is god awful. Like I don't know if he's a bad guy. I don't know what the vibe is, but his head coaching record's awful. He's not an offensive guy. Their offensive coach is Kubiak's son, which like he doesn't have the gravitas that you would need in order to not make the leader of the team who the leader of the team is, which is where I'm bearish on the Saints. Like Derek Carr, I think he's done. I don't. This might be the last year he's a starting quarterback. He was horrible last year. There was play after play after play, game after game, where the Saints would have won if they had better quarterback play. His numbers weren't terrible, but he's one of those. He's a front runner. If the game's a blowout, he tends to pad the numbers. He does not manage the game well. He throws. He doesn't see the field, and they don't have enough weapons. Like the only way you can make Derek Carr work is if he's on the Broncos with Sean Payton, or if he's with Shanahan in San Francisco. Then he's fine. Then he's Brock Purdy, and he can have a great career. But the way that he's been, I guess what's the right word? The way he's been used, whether it was in Vegas, Oakland, in that run with the Raiders, and now with the Saints, is they run the offense through him. The offensive line's weaker this year. The Saints have managed their cat in a way that it's starting to blow up in their face. They haven't quite hit the rebuild button since Drew Brees. Their best players are just old. Cameron Jordan and Demario Davis and Lattimore on defense and Tyrann Mathieu. I think they're all edging out of their prime / on the way out of the league. It just feels like the year that there's going to be a team that wins 4 games, maybe only 3 or less. Last year, it's hard to predict exactly who that worst team is going to be. I wouldn't be shocked if the Saints are picking first in the draft. They don't have a plan. Like their backup quarterback is nobody. They have Spencer Rattler, the rookie. Like maybe he's the plan. They just feel like they're going to bottom out. I don't see it. Their schedule, and then that was the other thing. So I went through their schedule and like they weren't good last year. They didn't make the playoffs, but they just have a bad draw. They play the AFC West, so that forces them to play the Chiefs and the Chargers. Both games are on the road, which the Chargers on the road is not really a road game, but it's a long travel for them. They get the Broncos and the Raiders at home, which turn into must wins, and those feel like 50-50 games. And then here are some of their other games. They play the Browns, which Browns didn't make the playoffs last year. That's why they match up. That feels like they're an underdog in that game. They have to play the Rams. They do get to play the Giants and the Commanders, but they also have to play the Packers. They finished the year in Tampa. I don't know. 7.5 seems like way too much. Maybe I bump it up to 8 just to be careful in case they win 7 or 8 games, because the NFC West is awful. But I think the NFC South. But I think it's going to be improved, and I think the Saints are the bad team. I think Kamara at running back is out of his prime. Olave, their receivers, their best player. He's young. They don't have a great tight end. Juwan Johnson, he's banged up at the moment. And the offensive line is not great. Like, I don't know what the Saints' identity is. That first week, that'll probably be a big bet for me. I like the Panthers getting, whether it's 5, 4.5, whatever it turns out to be, against the Saints. I don't like the Saints this year at all. That would be the next. I'm looking forward to actually going through all these teams. It's fun doing it. And if something jumps out at me, great. If not, then it is what it is. And those NFC South teams, yeah, if anything, I would bet the Panthers before the season. We'll see how that goes as we get closer to the season. But the Bucks and the Falcons, my advice would be don't fade them. Like, I don't see either of those teams being bad. At worst, the Bucks maybe win 8 games. Like, they're not going to be bad. I just don't see it. They play too good a defense. They got the same type of team from last year. They overachieved last year. So if you look at when a team's trying to figure out what their identity is, it's nice to have training camp and an off season with the same, foundation of the team. So the Bucks are going to be decent. Like, I don't think they're a bad team at all. And the Falcons aren't going to be bad. Like, whether or not you think the Falcons are going to win 13 or 14 games, sure, you can debate that. But to say that they're not going to win 9 seems like, I don't know, Judon makes them a lot better. I think they're uber talented. I like what they did with the coaching. So the Falcons, somebody's got to win less games in that division. Feels like it's the Saints. So that's where it led me. I enjoyed doing that yesterday. Looking forward to, since tonight the Eagles play, and bearish again on the Eagles. That'll be the next division, go through the Commanders. The Commanders will be most likely a stay away, as they have brand new coach, quarterback. But yeah, see what we like with the Giants and the Cowboys. That'll be what I do today. And then that's what I'll talk about tomorrow. See how the Orioles do. And yeah, hope everybody has a good day. And I'll see you guys in the morning.